going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Viall Files, Ask Nick Edition, episode 498. 498. That's a lot. Yeah, I remember we had our 8th episode. I remember that because someone told me that most podcasts don't get past 8. Here
Fascinating.
490 episodes later.
We did it, Joe.
Yeah, we're still here.
Still here. Ladies, how are you?
Fabulous.
Good. I feel like I always do a quick change. Like, I feel like I'm never quite ready to start recording, even though all we're doing is like sitting here waiting. And then I always feel like I'm doing like a quick change because I'm like trying to like take off or add a layer. And then I never have like my lips on.
It's never really fully prepared, are you?
What a rude way to interpret that comment.
Right. I want to go home.
Allie, how's improv?
Good. I said I love you for the first time. So big moves are being made.
At improv. Are you starting to enjoy it?
I think the second class was more fun than the first one.
How about that?
I liked there was a long segment of note taking that I very much enjoyed.
Oh my God.
She likes the notes. She hates the.
He talked for like he had some good things
it.
to say. It did not need to be an hour.
Oh, it definitely
not.
did. I sat there with my Diet Coke and my laptop and I was like, you go on, Diego.
That's your instructor's name?
Yes. There was a moment after where I was like, oh, are you in any shows? And I think he misinterpreted at me being like, what are you in? Because he kind of like gave me a weird, and I was like, oopsie daisy.
Why was that a bad question?
Like, I think he thought I was being very like, so what shows are you in? Do you have any value in this community? Like, I think just for like, I don't know. He kind of gave me like, do you know how there's just like these unspoken visual cues? And I think, and especially in like comedy spaces.
How old is this person?
I feel like he's in his like mid-30s. Yeah, I would say like mid-30s, but like actor. So
mid to late 30s, but maybe aging well.
Is it better than you imagined?
I didn't go in with any sort of like expectations. So other than hating it.
Okay.
I mean, it's like I didn't know how it would be structured.
Nick and I are both like,
I didn't like. I meant like the class to class.
It was like you were like a kid like kicking and screaming who doesn't want to take swim lessons, but like you have to take swim lessons.
100%. I mean,
Yeah.
I still like on Sunday. I was like, God fucking damn it! I was like 2 out of 15.
Wait, we were actually talking about that this morning though, about like the stuff we did as kids. Like, what were your after school activities when you were a kid, if you got to do any?
Usually some sort of sports, but I would then come home and eat a lot. I would notoriously come home after school at like 3 and make 8 slices of French toast and then have dinner at like 6.
Wow.
How old are you when you're
Anywhere from like 12 to 14.
What about like elementary school?
I don't remember.
Like, you didn't do any activities?
No, I mean, sure. We always did after school activities. I was always in some sort of sport or.
So they were, I'm just wondering if they're, because we were talking, I was like, I took Russian math school as a kid. And like, not because my parents wanted me to, like
Russian math?
Yeah, it was just like this.
What makes math Russian?
The intensity with which it's taught. Like, oh,
it's calculus in the
it's a
third
vibe.
grade. Yeah.
It's a vibe. But like, I like sought that out as a child, and I was like, what other? And I feel like that's like a weird little. I feel like
Are you good at math?
Not in any like intensive way. Like, I didn't study math in college or anything, but like I'm the one who can like calculate the tip pretty quickly, and I like math. Like, I don't think I'm necessarily good at it so much as it just makes a lot of sense to me.
How are you in math?
Pretty good. I was on math team.
Oh, you're on the math team.
I actually started one in middle school because I was really popular.
Really, the initiative.
I made t-shirts. I really just copied my sister's design, so she gets credit. But
Who did you say you love?
A boy in our improv class.
But was there a moment?
it was just this he made it I was like, he went off on this tangent, and he was like, I just want to sit here and stare into those beautiful hazel eyes of yours.
What was the scene?
It was like
we were sitting in a rainforest cafe.
Yeah, but it was like, it wasn't like he was out of the blue. Like, the instructor was like, you have to like practice like making like emotional choices. They were like kind of bickering. And then he was like, I love you. But it was the thing that got me was there was a moment where he was like, I care about you so much. I look into and then he's like looking at Allie and he's like,
he said hazel eyes.
He said, beautiful hazel eyes. And I was like, I've also had that moment where I'm like making eye contact with Allie and I'm like, wow, her eyes are so multidimensional. That's so nice. I knew exactly what was going through his brain.
Wow.
And I'm doing it now.
Oh my God. Never leave.
One day I'll have to take a look. She's going to be like turning around and start staring.
She's like, what are you doing?
Our 500th episode is just us staring at each other in silence.
Yeah.
So improv is going well. But around improv, as I'm sure you remember, not very good parking options. It's in a bustling part of WeHo. And I would say parking options really informs where I will go out. I have a strict no WeHo policy that sometimes gets broken. But
Don't you live there?
No, absolutely not. I live in EHO, East Hollywood. Nobody calls it that. Just me. But I have a strict... Allie used to live in WeHo.
So you live in Eagle Rock?
No, EHO, East Hollywood.
I don't know.
Do you not know what it's like Los Feliz?
Okay.
I live in Los Feliz now, but before I was in East Hollywood, like Thai Town area.
Okay.
But I was wondering how long do you look for street parking?
Not long at all. Because I walk.
I was thinking about it. Valet is one of the most stressful jobs in the world. Like, we do not talk about that at all. Imagine how stressful that is, constantly parallel parking or like in these tiny little spots, other people's cars.
You know who used to be a valet?
You.
Natalie.
No way.
Yeah.
That's badass. That's some like hot girl shit right there, being a valet.
She was a valet for a couple of years, I think.
That's so impressive.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Like, is Natalie a good driver?
She's not a bad driver. I'm not a good driver. So
I know.
Yeah. I got locked. You lock your back
I've never been in
doors
an
for
accident.
Jeff, and I feel like a dog every time I'm in the back seat because I
how
get
many
locked
times have you been in
there.
my car?
Once.
I don't even remember that.
I think it was when we went to
Thanks,
that coffee
guys.
shop
Thanks.
that was near here.
Oh.
It was a big experience for me, but
I got a
glad to know I'm
sandwich that was
forgettable.
too big and too meaty.
That was a 5-minute drive.
Yeah.
And I felt like a dog every moment of it.
Why?
No.
You've never been in a car seat with your windows locked?
I don't know. I just felt very trapped, just like improv.
Child lock, you know?
Poor Ellie. Anyway. Oh, book club.
Yeah. So if you've been listening and you want to join a Don't Text Your Ex Happy Birthday book club, I have some in progress getting up and running, but there are a lot of cities that the Facebook groups have been made. They are being run by either 1, 2, or 3 managers and awaiting your request to join. So if you are in the following cities, you have a Facebook group currently up and running. We have Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco, Phoenix, Dallas, Columbus, Boston,
Woo.
Sacramento, Denver, New York City, Toronto, and Philadelphia currently up and running. If you would like to join any of those cities, all you have to do is go to Facebook, search in Facebook, DTYEHB Book Club dash your city. So like DTYEHB Book Club dash Sacramento dash Austin dash whatever. They're all labeled the same way, so they're super easy to find. Send a little join request.
What's required of book club?
It's a great way to meet other people who either have read the book or listened to the show or are just like singles in your area that are maybe dating and want to meet people.
Yeah, that's really, I think, the ultimate goal of this is obviously...
Like dating support groups, kind of.
Yeah. And if you've read the book, great. You can hold each other accountable for the expectation and boundary setting and things like that. But it's really just a fun support group to banter from.
Yeah, and share your like victories and like your funny stories and like know that, because I think that's the thing about dating is that it feels so goddamn isolating, and like and just knowing that there's other people who are going through it will hopefully like help you be patient and not settle for less than you deserve. And also just make some friends who are emotionally intelligent.
Yeah. And once you guys get up and running, and you guys ever do a Zoom, I'll pop in and say hi. But yeah, so if you guys are listening, you're in any of those cities and you want to just you might as well just sign up. There's like literally no obligation.
Just join the group.
Join the group.
See what happens.
See what happens. It'll be fun, in any of those cities. Maybe meet a new friend if you're new to a city. What a great place to. Also, a couple people won the self-care thing for the book, and one of the girls I talked to, is it meetup.com?
Yeah.
She's like moved to a new city, so plug for meetup.com, but she's like apparently a great way to like,
it's so
if you like sewing or whatever the fuck you're into, it's a great place to like meet people in your respective city to like do the things that you like to do. So
I did that
also
in
try
Sydney, Australia. Like this is a worldwide thing. So for all our shout out to all the amazing international listeners, like you can do it anywhere. I joined this group called Letter Writing, where it was like we would go to a cafe like once every 2 weeks and like write letters to strangers who like friends had submitted, like they're going through a hard time or they could just use some encouragement. And like we did like crafts and like wrote these cute little letters and then sent them out.
That's
and it was
so
like
wholesome.
really wholesome and like fun.
Wait, cute.
So it's like, it's not just like sports, although you can totally do that kind of thing there as well. Like there's really genuinely like a whole variety of little like niche activities.
But first, check out your local book club.
So check out meetup.com, but or just check out Don't Text Your Ex Happy Birthday and join your book club in your respective city and have a ball. We have a great episode for you. Also, a great week lined up for you. Elise Guilfoyle will be recapping The Bachelor with us. And for our 500th episode of Going Deeper, Love is Blind finale and some special guests. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe Harry Styles.
I think you should wear your suit. Speaking of suspending.
Wait, can we all wear fancy clothes?
Sure. Yeah.
We should wear our prom dresses.
We use Canva for everything, but I've most recently been using it for the Don't Text Your Ex Happy Birthday book clubs because I wanted to make them all banners for their Facebook groups that are cohesive, but like individualized. They each have their city name on it. And it's just like super easy. I just duplicate the last one. I change the category or the city that it's in. They look really professional. I have your face on there. I remove the background behind your head. Really, I'm just a graphic designer over here. Or at least faking it.
The nice thing about Canva Pro is there are so many graphics. So instead of having to like spend a lot of time making a graphic that's ultimately probably not going to look as good as you want it to, you can go through with their existing templates. It's amazing, saves you so much time and just like really levels up any kind of thing, whether that's like an invitation to a party or a Facebook banner. Even if you're posting on like social media, if you're a business owner, email lists, really Canva does it all.
Canva Pro makes it easy to create stunning visual content in any format, from social media posts to videos, presentations, and websites without any design experience. It's pretty easy to whip up any stunning content in minutes with thousands of professional design templates. You heard it from Allie and Amanda. They don't know what they're doing, and yet they're able to bust out some amazing content for the show. And whether you're throwing an amazing birthday party or a neighborhood event or maybe a graduation party or, really anything, you can look like you hired in a whole design team, and all you really need is Canva Pro. Drag and drop video editor is so simple to use and has tons of filters, animation, transitions that will bring your content to life. Design like a pro with Canva Pro right now. You can get a free 45-day extended trial when you go to canva.me/VIALL. That is canva.me/VIALL for a free 45-day extended trial. Canva.me/VIALL. When it comes to choosing a wireless plan, you're forced to compromise. But what if you didn't have to? What if you could get reliable service without a contract and save money? Introducing Total by Verizon, a new no-contract, no-credit check carrier for you and your family with plans starting at just $30 per month on America's most reliable 5G network. Sacrifice nothing, experience everything. Total by Verizon is available at totalbyverizon.com and at retailers nationwide. Based on first place rankings and Root Metrics first half 2022 5G assessments of 125 metros. Experiences vary, not an endorsement.
Question time with Nick. Let's ask Nick your sexy questions.
How's it going?
Hi, how are you?
Good. What's your name?
I'm Chloe.
Hi, Chloe.
I'm 34.
How can I help?
I set up two friends on a date, and I realized why one of them is still single. He did a lot of icks on the date, and I don't know how to tell him or if I should tell him.
Okay.
So.
All right. What did he do?
Okay. So firstly, when I set them up, I said, this is my girl. She's amazing. That's as far as my matchmaking skills go. So take it from here, buddy. And he did. And it was good. He sent out text right away. I was even with her once she got one of the texts, and she smiled. It was great. And then it came to setting up a date. And boy, oh boy, did he mess up. He was making a really big deal about why, like, travel. I don't know, we're in LA, so it's like sometimes people get miffed about having to go super far, and he suggested that she meet him in her area, which, I mean, might be good for the common folk, but not for my girl.
He suggested that they meet in her area?
In his area.
In his area, okay.
On a first date, which I just think is like a no. Like, that's not gentlemanly.
Right off the bat, it just shows some laziness, right?
Some laziness, some selfishness.
Sure. I mean, like or just a lack of enthusiasm for this date. So,
which wasn't what he was showing through the text. That's what was confusing to me. So it was like he was super enthusiastic. He texted her right away. He was giving her lots of good chat, and then it fell off when the date started to plan. So that happened, and then there was this moment when he tried to set up something, and she's really busy. She travels all over the world. And she came back and she was like, sorry, I was traveling. And he goes, I think we've established you're traveling. So like a lot of like combativeness. And he suggested that they meet up somewhere because of a sporting game might be going on. However, he didn't realize she knows a lot about sports. That's why I set them up.
She does know a lot about sports.
And she was like, that's actually not happening. I don't know what you're talking about. That a sporting event is not going to happen.
Oh, so she suggested, he was like, hey, with this sporting event might be going on, and she knew that it wasn't?
Yeah. So he like made that as an excuse as to why not to travel.
Oh, I see. So when he suggested that he comes to his part of LA,
he was like, oh, maybe I'll come to your side, but the traffic might be really, really bad. And she's just like, oh my God.
And I'm assuming she had the same expectation that he should come to her part of town, or was she open to having like a mutual spot?
She's definitely open to having a mutual spot, which is what ended up happening. So she was like, afterwards, she was like, why didn't he just suggest meeting up in the middle? Because I would have done that. So they ended up meeting up in the middle because I try to encourage my friend to go on dates. I'm the advice giver of her. I'm the Nick Viall of my friends. Okay. She comes to me and I say, be more open. Don't be like so closed off. Like, give guys a chance. Sometimes they mess up, but I am a big proponent of like, you should be on your best behavior, at least within the first 60 days of dating. If you like the person, you shouldn't be seeing any like cracks. So anyway, they met up and I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, okay. And he was being nice. And then it fell off the rails again. So he picked a place, great. She has stomach issues, as all hot girls have stomach issues, as the internet might suggest.
Sure.
She ordered a salad. He said,
no, he didn't comment.
What the heck? Like, interrogated her about ordering such salad that she was not going to eat anything else. Why? Why are you not eating anything else? And she's just like, I don't want to my brains out. You know? You can't say that on a first date, but it's really like, what am I supposed to say? So it's just like an uncomfortable, she felt interrogated. I took notes after her date.
I mean, he should definitely not be commenting on what she orders, like, at all. Unless it's like an interesting food that you want to try and have questions.
Totally.
Well, that seems interesting. Can I try that?
That's an ick for you, someone who's not an adventurous eater, which she is. She's just not going to do it on a first date. Like, take that to the bank and don't ask them out again.
All right. So he commented on her food.
He commented on her food. He didn't ask her a lot of questions about herself, more like interrogated her. That's how she felt. No questions about herself. And then was
wait, what do you mean? So he interrogated her, but didn't ask her questions about herself? What do you mean?
It was like, why are you single?
Oh, he asked her why she's single?
She's young. She's 27 years old.
How old is he?
He's in his early 40s. Okay. The reason why I set them up is because she recently decided to like up her dating age, which I've been encouraging because I just think younger guys are trash.
But the early 40-year-old was asking the 27-something-year-old why they're single?
It just didn't feel like he was present. Maybe felt like he was an autopilot, And I guess he was really presumptive about, on our second date, unless you're like making out on the first date.
So wait, on the first date, so this is the date. They meet up. Well, first it's, hey, you should come to me. All right, no, fine. We'll meet in the middle.
Wild.
We sit down. Yeah. Why are you eating this salad?
Talked a lot about himself.
Asked her why she's single. And then started talking about their second date.
Yeah.
How long have you known this friend?
I've known him actually for a little bit. Like we met in a work situation.
What's a little bit?
Almost like 8 years.
Okay, so you've been a while. It's been a while.
And I think he's a sweetheart. I'm more friends with him like online. He's like an online acquaintance. He's very supportive. He's never been a creep to me. He's just been like, he's a good guy. He's doing good things in the world. He's successful. He dresses well. He works out. Like, these are good qualities in a man, and he's generally pretty miffed that he's single. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
He's a little confused as to why he's single. So I was like, I can't wait to set you up with my friends. I tried to set him up with another friend a while back, but she was like, he's too old. He's not my type. That's fine. But I tend to have younger friends for some reason. But yeah, so I just don't know if I'm in the place to say anything, or if even a man at that age wants to hear how bad he's messing up. Because I really think these are fixable things.
For him or the relationship?
For him. No, I wouldn't know.
When you say you're more online friends than friends, but you've known him for 8 years, like what?
Yeah.
Like how close are you with this person?
Not close.
He's not that close. Do you know whether you think he's a sensitive person or not?
I think he's a passionate person about certain things.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I wouldn't clock him as like mean sensitive to where he'd like think I was being mean to him.
So have you talked to him about the date?
I haven't. I've been nervous to. I emailed you guys right away.
How long ago did this date happen?
A week ago.
How often do you meet up in person with this friend?
Him?
Yeah.
Never.
Never.
I mean, he lives across. But also, like, we're not into the similar things. I really enjoy him. I think he's a sweet person. We have some banter in the chat, but he's not like my type of friend.
Why did you think he'd be a good match with this woman?
They're both into sports. They both work out. They're both kind people. He's smart, which she doesn't go on a lot of dates with. She's really smart.
Okay. In terms of from your opinion, physically, do you find them?
Oh, he's punching.
He's punching up?
I mean, but he's yeah.
Here's what I think. I think you set them up. So I think you have the ability to, it makes sense, I guess is what I'm saying. Since you set them both up, it makes sense for you to follow up. Like that's a lot.
Yeah.
I would. If I set 2 people up, I'd be curious. I'd want to know, like, it makes sense why you would be, I guess, nosy, right? So I don't think this is a conversation you can have with this guy over text at all. I think you should assume he's pretty sensitive. I mean, if a 42-year-old guy is, the way you describe him, nice, and, he profiles as nice, except when he goes on dates, it seems like he turns into a different person. It would suggest that maybe this person is suffering for some like severe insecurities about themselves. This person, as you say, is baffled why they're single.
Outwardly presents to be baffled why they're single.
Yeah, that says something.
I don't think that's not normal too, because like my friend is baffled why she's single.
Well, but your friend's 27. That's a little.
She's a mature 27, but
I just think, if you have a lot going for you, it sounds like these 2 people have a lot going for them as individuals.
Yes.
And in adult life, if you are out there and you're just like, I don't know why I'm single, that to me is saying something. To me, that's saying that you maybe haven't really looked at why you might be single. You're struggling finding someone. You're probably going on these bad dates. Maybe your perception of what you think the type of person you want, that could be off a little bit. But I don't think if you're an adult person who's like, the only constant is you. It's one thing if this friend was like, hey, he's in his early 40s or late 30s or whatever, and he or she's looking for love and they haven't found it yet. They're relatively content with being single, but I know they're anxious to find someone. That's different than, talking about this person who's just like trying really, really hard to find love, can't figure out why they can't find love, has all these other things going for them. To me, that means that there is something with this person they haven't really figured out, because they're the only constant, right? And if they are so baffled, that means they haven't probably taken a hard look at themselves as to why they're running into some problems. And it's not to say that like in every dating situation, it's their fault, but they are the only constant in their like love stories, so to speak. This is all to say that like you won't be the first person who has tried to have this conversation with him. And so just like temper your expectations. It doesn't mean you shouldn't have it.
How do you even start that? Because like if I go, okay, how was the date, right? how was the date? And he goes, it was all right, but blah, 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 blah. And I'm like,
he might not say it was all right. He might say it wasn't great. I mean, you haven't heard from him.
That's true. He did kiss her.
But you haven't heard from him since the date?
No. But we're not like on that.
But you set him up. My guess is he doesn't think it went all that well.
I don't think he did either. He didn't call her for a second, even though he was talking about it.
So he's probably trying to avoid you.
Yeah. Everyone's trying to avoid me because I'm the truth teller and everyone knows I tell the truth to them. So if they don't want to hear the truth, they avoid me. That's
another thing to consider. If he doesn't want to hear it, I think you should reach out to him. Have you ever FaceTime him ever?
No, but I do think my thing is with him is I would set him up again. I just wouldn't set him up if he's going to do the same thing. So maybe I approach it next time I want to set him up with someone.
Could do that.
Or, I mean, I'm just like, how can I avoid this?
If you need some amazing pots and pans or bakingware, think of Caraway. I got so much Caraway, it's ridiculous. But you know what? I always get compliments. They come in these really pretty sets. I have a green set. I have a gray set. Their whole baking set, which is great for anyone who's a big baker, cakes, cookies, whatever, cupcakes. They have it all. Caraway's home nonstick cookware and bakeware collections are wonderful because they look nice, nonstick, and made with their internet's famous non-toxic cookware.
Which is so rare. A lot of the best nonstick pans have chemicals that would make you squirm.
Yeah, they're like staying your body for the rest of your life. It's actually kind of quite scary. Caraway's Cyber Season event is almost here. Save up to 20% on all Caraway products, including their internet's famous nonstick cookware set. For the first time ever, you can now save on Caraway's food, storage, tea kettle, and mini cookware. This exclusive deal won't last long. Make sure to shop your favorite colors and products while you still can. Caraway products are made without any toxic materials like PFAs, PTFEs, PFOAs, or other hard-to-pronounce chemicals. Over 30,000 people have raved about the Caraway kitchen, and I am one of those people. Now it's time to try it yourself. Yesterday, I made a wonderful pasta dish with lobster in it.
Yum.
Caraway really helped. Visit carawayhome.com to take advantage of their Cyber Season event and score up to 20% off your next purchase of non-toxic kitchenware. This deal won't last long, so visit carawayhome.com to shop all their incredible products up to 20% off this holiday season. Caraway.
Dating is a struggle.
It's a war.
It is. It feels like you're climbing. It's my personal Everest, and I can't get it. I can't figure it out.
I think dating is something where it is so important to keep your stamina going because when you become discouraged, you become really discouraged. And the way you keep your stamina going is by one, checking in with yourself and being like, am I okay? Am I doing the work I need to be doing? The reflection, the thoughts, the self-awareness, all of that. And you also do that by not wasting your time with people who you have no idea what they're looking for. You have no idea what their level of emotional intelligence is. If they're dating with intention, you want to preserve your time and energy with dating because it's tough out there and you want to use it for the very best.
Literally, the date I went on 2 weeks ago, we went through the whole date, and then at the end of it, he was like, oh, no, I don't actually want to date someone. I just want to hook up with them. And I was like, why are we here?
Why are you there? Why are you on these ridiculous apps? Well, Match, they want people who are ready to do the thing that people are there to do, which is find love. And people who are focused on being the best selves, people who are ready and comfortable with who they are. Those are the people that Match the Dating app want on their platform. So if that's you, take a look at Match the Dating app. If you do you already know the best relationships show up when you show up for yourself first. There's never been a better time to try Match. Download the Match app today.
I just think it's a shame that he be messing up in these streets with I feel like such easy fixes.
I don't know if they're easy fixes.
Well, don't make a big deal about traffic. Don't ask her what she's eating.
But it's not. That's the thing.
He's more gentle.
It's not. That's not the thing. It's not that he did this one little thing. It's that he makes a big deal about little things.
Okay, so this is like a therapy thing.
Yeah,
this
there's something.
Hey, maybe getting therapy.
There's something going on inside him, an insecurity of some kind that, when he's in these situations, his insecurities come out, and they come out in the form of, I wouldn't say passive aggressive, argumentative, critiquing, You know, it's just like, you think you're being funny, like Larry David critiques people. It's just like, well, not everyone has the gift of Larry David. And quite honestly, Larry David makes fun of himself of being unlikable, you know,
and if you go on a date with Larry David, you know what you're expecting. You know,
sure. And I'm not even saying this person's trying to be like Larry David, but I think there's a lot of people out there who think they're funny and they're not. But it's not even trying to be funny. It comes out in a kind of prickish way, and I don't know why.
And these guys are unsalvageable.
I don't know if they're.
We're just gonna let them out there.
I don't know if they're unsalvageable, but I think it's going to require some work on their part, and I think they have to be more willing to look in the mirror and realize they're the problem.
And you don't think there's any way to gentle talk this into fixing?
Well, I mean, if you don't have the rapport with this friend to like meet him in person or even FaceTime, and if you did, like, I still would encourage you to maybe do that. Yeah. If you wanted.
I could. Yeah. It wouldn't be weird, but I could.
And just say, hey, you know, like, how did the date go? And then first get his thoughts. My guess is he will probably like say it didn't go great. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd be curious if he's, you know, it would be really, really interesting because you should see what he's willing to say. You know, does he talk shit? Sure. Does he like, you know, like, oh, she like ordered a salad. You know, she was, like his version could be completely different. Like, and you've heard her version. And so that way you could just be like, well, I heard different. And then like, I don't know what he would say to bringing up or critiquing her order, or I don't know what he would say to talking about a second date. I mean, so these are like basic stuff.
Yeah.
But
basic.
I think he's just not self-aware enough to realize it. And again, you're the one who's saying like, he doesn't know. He's going in on these dates not thinking he's the problem.
Yeah.
And I think he needs to like, I mean, listen, you're 40-something years old, and then that's fine. But it's just like, if you have nothing but like a series of like disappointments, that you have to be willing to like look in the mirror. It's one thing.
Yeah, I don't know that he's had a relationship or like a serious or a long one, at least an Instagram worthy one since I've known him.
Yeah. So I just think I would love for you to say something to him, right? I think men need to hear this from their women friends more. I think they need to be coached up from their women friends more. I think you should try to be as nice as possible, but you say it in a way like, as a woman, I wouldn't like this. And maybe you take that approach. Be like, I don't know. I talked to my friend. I know you guys might not be a match. I'm not a professional matchmaker, and I'm not sitting here critiquing whether you guys should be together. If you guys don't want to go on another date, that's fine. But I did hear some very specific things, and I'm only coming to you because I do think I want to set you up in the future, and I think you have a good heart, and I think you mean well. But like, there were some like things that you said and did that like, if I were her, I wouldn't want to go on a second date with you. It was really off-putting for you to like comment, like don't comment on a woman's order. Period. You don't know her.
That makes sense.
I mean,
I like that position.
Don't comment on, like, if she's your girlfriend, don't do it. Let her eat.
Yeah.
Just let her eat.
Yeah.
You know? Like, how about you get through the first date before you're talking about a second date? And then maybe start focusing on asking her more questions about herself. You know, not questions that relate to you.
Yeah.
You know? And just make it more conversational.
Yeah, not typical date questions.
And
I like this perspective of like going through it. I want to set you up again. So then like, let's chat.
Yeah. So come from that place. I would lead with that.
Yeah.
But you should say, I'm not going to if you act like this.
Yeah.
And I think you can be a little hard from that point, you know, if you act like this, and to say like, give him some,
if he's receptive,
give him some basic do's and don'ts. And then if he's not receptive, you can hit him with some tough love saying, just want to throw it out there, but I'm coming from a place of trying to help you out, and you don't seem to want to be receptive to that. Maybe you're the problem.
I would never.
Why not?
Why are you meaner than me? And I thought I was like the mean person.
I mean,
but say maybe you're the problem.
Sometimes we have to hear that. You know, we all are the problem on some level.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, I do just think he's a very sweet person.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, you come from this place of like, I know you're a sweet person. I know you have a lot going for you. But like and this is what you say. If I didn't know you and my girlfriend told me about this date, I would think you're toxic. I would think you're a jerk or a bad guy. I would tell you should never go on a date with this guy again. That's what I would say about the things that I heard about this date from you. And I know you're not a bad guy, so why are you doing shit like this? And so I'm coming from a place of trying to help you out. And if he's resistant to that, then yes, I think you can pose the question. that like the fact that you are resistant to these very basic notes that's coming from a place of trying to help you and you don't want help, then buddy, I don't know what to do.
Right. And I can't consciously set you up with another amazing, beautiful girl.
Like, it's on you. Like, I'm here to help, but like, how about we try to start like identifying the problems? Because like, these are basic stuff that you should know by now. And a smart person should know, but like you're doing basic jerky stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's coming from a place that you're a jerk. I think it's coming from a place of, well, I don't know where it's coming from, but like you should probably look into it.
You're 60% there, actually.
Yeah.
You're far ahead of the game, but then you mess it up in the fourth quarter. Sports analogy.
There you go. All right. Well, that's what I would do. I would come from a place of, I want to help you out in the future, but like you need to like not do this anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, I like that. I like that take.
And but also ask his perspective of the date too.
Yeah, like how'd it go? Hey, so how'd it go?
Yeah.
And then be like, well, on the basis of I want to set you up again, this is what I heard.
Yeah. So do that.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, perfect.
All right, keep it.
That works.
I want to know how this conversation goes, so please follow up.
Okay, I will.
All right. Take care.
Right.
Bye. Bye-bye. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. What's your name?
My name is Rose, and I'm 26 years old.
How can I help, Rose?
So I have some medical issues around sex, and I'm looking for some help with how to craft a conversation in the early stages of dating.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll do my best. I'm not a, expert in this type of stuff, but let's see what we got, and we'll go from there.
All right. So have you heard of or do you know anything about vaginismus?
I feel like I have, but remind the audience.
Yeah, it's not an uncommon thing, but it's basically the involuntary tightening of muscles in the pelvic floor.
Okay.
Women have it mostly, some men have it as well. And
it becomes painful when you have sex? I feel like we had a call like this years ago.
It's possible, yeah. It's basically penetration is painful.
Okay.
To various degrees.
Okay.
And so I have that.
Okay.
It's for me, it came from a hormone imbalance. I'm in treatment for it. Physical therapy is basically the treatment for it.
Okay. And to what degree are you able to,
It kind of depends on the day, but basically sex is off the table unless they have a micro penis, if I'm going to be vulgar.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so...
Well, you could be like every micro penis man's dream, maybe.
I mean, how do I put that on my dating? Big dicks need not apply.
Small good dick energy. I'm here.
Yeah.
All right, go
So the thing is, that doesn't mean I don't have a sex drive.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. And it doesn't mean that I'm not interested in having sex. Like I would love to have sex. Unfortunately, that's just not medically on the table for me.
Is this how much will physical therapy help?
So I've been in it for a little less than a year and there's been improvement. What my physical therapist says is the pain level will never go down to 0. We're trying to get it to a 2.
What would you say it's at now?
I would say it's probably at like a 6. Okay. It's incredibly, incredibly uncomfortable.
So even a 2, it's just like, all right, I guess.
Right. It'll never be painless. Or
enjoyable.
Tragic. Well, hopefully we'll get to a point where a 2 is like, I'm still enjoying it,
Interesting. Okay.
Because I'm hoping that this does not mean I'll never be able to have sex. It's just an indefinite timeline.
Okay. So how can we talk about this? Have you tried?
Yes. So usually, this is a multifaceted issue. One is I don't really love having this conversation every time I'm dating someone because it's a bit sensitive. I feel like I can't operate like a normal 26-year-old. But more than that, the issue is sex is a big part of dating, especially at this age. I understand that physical intimacy is important to people. And so when I have this conversation, what I've been trying to figure out is how do I give them the out to not feel like an asshole? Because what happens is I tell them basically what I just told you. Mm-hmm. And inevitably they're like, oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
And then we continue on in the dating stages and it's not fine. And they get frustrated. And so what I'm trying to figure out is how do I say on date 3 or 4, hey, if like, I'm not going to think you're an asshole for ending things because of this. I would rather you end it now.
And you'd rather have them end it now because it must be emotionally frustrating for you to hear, oh, it's not a big deal. And then like some level of you, whether you totally believe them or not, is thinking maybe it's not a big deal, only to find out it's a non-negotiable for them, which leaves you more disappointed.
Exactly. So that's the main thing. And then just to throw in a second question for later is, if they say it's not a big deal and we continue, what is my responsibility in initiating sexy times, if you will? Because, I can still do foreplay. I can still enjoy other stuff, but I am saying, hey, we can roll around naked, but you can never put it in. And like, am I leading them on to some degree? And like, how should I kind of conduct myself?
I don't think you're leading anyone on. No. Especially if you've communicated this. And also, like, not everyone is like, I talk a lot about hookup culture. We talk about it on this show. I talk about it in my book. But not everyone wants to participate in hookup culture. I saw a study, I'm butchering this, but like the premise of the study was we kind of operated under this kind of idea nowadays that everyone's having sex and everyone's hooking up and everyone's having one-night stands, et cetera, et cetera. And while that's far more prevalent than it ever was or ever has been ever before, I think there's still a lot of people who aren't down for that. And it's not just women either, right? Now, granted, I think there's a religious element to that, which might not always mix with people's, some people might be like, well, I'm not very religious. But I only bring that up because I think you are applying, and I understand why, like this, it's almost like you're trying to participate in hookup culture and date with this medical condition rather than also just focus on finding love and date.
I'm not looking for anything casual, and I do make that clear to the people that I date. But I think testing out physical compatibility is usually a part of those early stages.
Totally.
At least it is for me. Like I would like to know that I'm attracted to my partner and that they're a good kisser. Like that's important to me.
Yeah, but people can make out and round a couple bases without having sex. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't have to have sex.
I think it's the idea that you think that sex will come eventually, right?
Sure.
Like even if you're taking it slow, there's the promise that it will be on the table eventually. And that's a promise I can't necessarily give.
No, I get all that. I guess what I'm saying is I'm just trying to thread the needle or find like taking the pressure off yourself. Like, you can date, you can make out, you can foreplay, you guys can, there's a lot of things you can do. Forgetting about how you communicate the medical issue and having that kind of challenging, awkward conversation. Can I only imagine, right? Like, because you want to figure out if this person is either willing or capable of wanting to accept this about you. And there's a part of you that wants to like find out within the first 5 minutes of a date or even before you go on a date. But like, you don't need to be like giving your medical history to every fucking guy you talk to. So that's got to be a fucking challenge, right? And I can imagine that. I guess what I'm just saying, like, you can learn about people's physical chemistry, your compatibility, if they're a good kisser, if they're good at foreplay, like, in fact, I would say it's better to figure out whether anyone's good at foreplay by not having sex, to take sex off the table and figure out how creative can they get, like how willing are they to like have a fun, intimate moment without the option of penetration. And quite honestly, that could probably improve a lot of people's sex lives, forgetting about like this, right? Because especially guys, is like, touch, let's fuck, like let's get right to it. So I just wonder if maybe you could just take the pressure off yourself by just embracing the foreplay aspect of dating and things like that. It doesn't really address the conversation or whether someone's going to eventually be able to accept that, but like, how much do you enjoy oral both ways?
Unfortunately, that would really solve a lot of my problems. But unfortunately, it's nice, but it's never going to be like, it's never going to get me off.
Okay. And sadly. What about your ability? What about how much do you enjoy giving oral?
I mean, I don't mind it.
Okay.
That is usually what I offer.
Sure. Are you able to orgasm on your own?
Yeah.
TMI, but like, how do you do that?
With my fingers and no penetration, just all clitoral.
And can you coach a guy up to do that?
Theoretically. Yeah, I guess it's a little bit of like not something I want to get into with every single guy. It would be something that I would probably try to do with a long-term partner if and when one of those shows up. It's just, I don't know. It's masturbating on your own is very different than doing it with a partner. But
I think the genders can all agree on that. Yeah, like the men will also subscribe to that. I guess what I'm trying to say is, and this is not really, I don't know how helpful this is, but I just think your dating experience is going to be different than, say, the average person participating in hookup culture. And I think your person, whoever that person is going to be someone who is more empathetic and more patient and more understanding. And maybe while sex is not important, it might not be as important to them as, say, some other people. I talk a lot about in my book about building an emotional connection. Like, why, it's like, oh, should we wait to have sex and one night stand, will they not like me anymore? And I'm always just like, it doesn't really matter how fast, like how much you make them wait without an emotional connection, because whether it's night one or like the 10th date, like what do you guys really know about each other? And things can still drastically change after something as impactful as sex, right? So what I'm saying to you is like, it's going to take you to build an emotional connection with someone for them to really love all these other things about you, which I'm sure exist and someone's capable of loving, right? But like, you're going to have to focus on that first. And there's probably, and I get why, you're probably making sex a big deal because it's an insecurity. Maybe try to focus less about the sex. I don't know if this is in any way helpful. Have you talked to a therapist about this?
No, I've thought about it.
I would definitely maybe look into that. There's probably some people there might be someone who specializes in some sort, like a therapist who specializes in some people who have challenges with sex in relationships. I would definitely, they would probably be a lot more helpful than me in terms of the specificity when it comes to this type of stuff. But I do think, like, if you could maybe just try to reframe your expectations, or like, you do have to deal with this, unfortunately. So, it's just like, you're not going to be able to have the same dating experience, especially for someone who wants to participate in hookup culture. But it doesn't mean you can't have fun. And it doesn't mean you can't like slow play this and get to know someone and really have someone be invested in you, and maybe not try to like have the physical element of your relationship show up in the relationships as quickly as you might otherwise would.
I also think there's a ton of people who go into a dating landscape like not feeling like they're capable of having like quote unquote like sex the normal way. Like, I have a friend who also has vaginismus, and it's because, and part of it is it's linked to an experience of sexual violence. So when she has that conversation, it's not just a conversation about like the physical things, but it's also like sharing a really intense lived experience. And she's been able to find people and date people where that hasn't been prohibitive, and they've still been able to like hook up and have a lot of fun. So I hope like that is a little bit hopeful in knowing that there definitely are people out there. And then the other thing I would say is that like, I think there can be a lot more expansive definition of sex. Like, I think like this, like the P and V as being what sex is. Like, I totally get that, like in mainstream, like straight culture, like that's what it is. I think for me, a lot of it had to do with like being queer and being like, wow, there is so much amazing sex that exists beyond that. And that's not to in any way invalidate like the pressure you might feel, or like that would be an expectation going on a date with a man. But I think you can really say like, redefine what sex means to you. Because if penetrative sex isn't pleasurable for you, like I hope you feel comfortable knowing that sexual experiences you have that don't include that are still 100% valid and gratifying and fulfilling. And maybe in acknowledging that for yourself, it will be a little bit easier to accept and embrace that like other people could also be really fulfilled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that, because I think what Amanda said is that will help you reframe how you approach this. Because again, I understand and empathize why this is top of mind, why you worry about it. And the things we worry about, we have a tend to project, especially in these situations. So as much as you're trying to find a relationship where sex isn't a driving force of the relationship, you're mostly focused on sex, right?
Yeah.
And this could be an opportunity for you to find someone who is more patient and empathetic and kind and considerate, because that's what it's going to require someone. And these are all qualities that we all want in a partner, right? And to Amanda's point, there's other ways to like get sexual fulfillment, and so like someone who might be more creative and things like that. And so like you have an opportunity to really build a foundational emotional connection with someone and try to like just make sex not as much of a priority. Eventually you guys can have these conversations, and it's going to happen with someone who you've gotten to know, who you realize is more creative and patient, kind and empathetic and curious about you and really loves aspects of you and wants to make it work with you because they love you and they like you and they feel connected to you, and you make them feel safe and you do all these things you bring so much to the table. Who's going to complain about a blowjob at that point? You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of changing your perspective a little bit and try not to be so hard on yourself. My guess is you're probably bringing up in dating situations sooner than you need to.
You think so?
I'm just guessing, just because it sounds like you've acknowledged that like it's a pressure for you. But like it's hard for me to say that with like, I'm not saying this like I know for certain. And what I mean by that is because I understand the pressure of just wanting to find out sooner than later.
And you mentioned not being worried about like leading people on, but I think it's so valid. Like there have been times when I've been on dates where I'm like, I just want to take it slow, and like there's no further explanation required.
Yeah.
And so you can always just like, if you're not ready to have a conversation about vaginismus yet, you can just leave it out like, I want to take it slower. And then like, if they're not cool with that, they suck.
Yeah. Well, no, totally. I mean, you don't need to explain why you're not down to like fuck a stranger.
They're not entitled to penetration with you.
Yeah. And like you a fourth date with a guy, they're still strangers, and like you don't need to explain yourself why you don't want to like get down and dirty with someone you're trying to just get to know at this point, and make it more about you getting to know people and less and as you get more comfortable with someone, I would only share it with someone who really makes you feel comfortable. Like, has this person earned my willingness to open up and talk about like some personal issues? Have they really made me feel comfortable? Have they made me feel like they're an understanding, empathetic person in other areas? Maybe share some other vulnerabilities about yourself and see how they handle that before you drop this on them.
I guess that makes me, the reason I would hesitate to do that is because I am comfortable talking about sex generally, other than this insecurity of mine. And it is like, I masturbate and I'm like comfortable with all that stuff. And so to kind of give them the impression early on that I'm not, and then later be like, it's because of these medical issues. Like, I don't know. I guess it makes me, crude is the wrong word, but I feel like it's giving a false representation of my own opinions about sex.
But I think there's a difference between being sexual and not wanting to have sex with, like Nick said, like a stranger up front.
Yeah.
Like you can totally be like so down for everything sexual, just because you don't want to have sex with them on like the third or fourth date doesn't make you a prude or any less into it.
Yeah, and you can be sexual and not even like need to talk about it in the first couple dates. You know what I'm saying? Like your sexual identity, like your sex drive or how you are.
Yeah, like, I guess just in my experience, it tends to come up in conversations, even just like, oh, so like, what do you like and stuff like that.
I get what you're saying. If some guy right off like early on is like, so are guys just
popping up on the first date?
Like when is this happening?
Not on the first date, but like dates, 4 or 5 ish. Okay. So like I like them enough to have gotten that far. Usually.
Yeah.
It's not just total
not the first question out of their mouth.
So at this point, like you've maybe like, have you like fooled around, done some stuff that's not?
Yeah, because I do usually do the like first time we're like alone together, I'll be like, let's not, go all the way tonight. And they're always like, yeah, totally fine.
Okay, so this is at the point where you've been on a date, you've done that, and now it's sort of, they're like,
there's a logical next step kind of thing.
Right, yeah.
Totally. Do you tend to feel comfortable sharing at that point? Like, are you kind of nervous about like being like, oh, is this too intense to say to them?
It's always a little nerve-wracking. And I mean, obviously, as Nick said, this is partly something I need to process and work on with my own insecurities. Like, I'm definitely not comfortable sharing it all the time, but I do my best to give them all of the information they need so they can make an informed decision. Because ultimately, really what I want is, I guess, like, I don't want them to be thinking about our relationship and be like, yeah, she's great, I really like her, but.
Yeah.
And like, how can I communicate that if there is that but, that's fine. Like, I understand that, and I'm okay if that is a big enough thing that you don't want to continue.
You just have to trust that they're big boys who can make that decision for themselves. Like, I'm so sick and tired of this stage of my life feeling like I have to like place like a nice table out and open up a chair for a guy to like tell me how he actually feels. Like, Jesus Christ, dude, just like come out and say it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Allie. I love that you're considerate and empathetic, but I think you're almost being a little too considerate of these people you haven't met yet.
Well, I think they're trying not to be an asshole, I think is what it comes down to. I think I choose people to date who consider themselves to be nice boys.
Sure.
I would say that's kind of my demographic. And so they would never say, oh no, I can't date you because of this, because it would make them feel like an asshole.
Yeah.
And I want to be like, no, like, if this is a big thing for you, like, that's fine. Like, that's fine. I would rather I had experiences in the past where guys totally unintentionally, but just like made me feel really shitty about the fact that this was true. And I think they thought it was going to be fine. And then it wasn't. And I'm trying to avoid that happening because every time it happens, it just compounds the problem.
And I know you're already sharing something vulnerable, so it's probably very intimidating being like, oh my God, like how much do I need to go into this? But I think it's okay to say a version of that, to be like, hey, in telling you this, like one of the reasons I want to do that is because if that doesn't work for you, like that's fine. I completely get that everybody has different like sexual needs, things that work for them. And like, if that's something where it's like not a great fit for you, that's totally fine. And I won't be at all upset if you like want to think about it and like kind of let me know sooner rather than later. And like being like, the only thing that's been an issue is in the past when people say it's fine and it hasn't been. And so I just like, I think maybe you can even acknowledge that, so that way they really know that like actually they have an out, and it's not just like an out that's going to be judged for shitty, because you're laying out exactly what is the hurtful, shitty behavior and like acknowledging that they have, like giving them a path to avoid that. But again, I know that's like intense. I know it probably like feels intense, but I also just think like, and again, like not to be heavy, but like I have so many friends who have experienced like some form of sexual violence. And I know it's a very high proportion of people, especially people with vaginas, have. And so I wouldn't underestimate just how frequently it might come, like communication about sex comes up for people.
That's why, back to my original we were talking about before, and again, I'd love for you to talk to like an expert in this field to get some like expert advice. But I'm just sensing like from you that you want to identify as someone who still can be a sexual person despite what you're going through.
I do, yeah.
And that feeling you have I'm getting a sense of you're almost trying to prove not only to other people but to yourself that you can still be a sexual person while dealing with this. And that feeling is moving that sexual conversation or that expectation of sex of any kind, or then it needs to be in a relationship, right? And so it might just be helpful, despite you wanting to have sexual relations with people, and you want to have sexual intimacy with people, to still slow things down and still try to really just get to know the people and try to make it less about sex as much as you can, and try to figure out what role you're playing in moving the sex conversations forward, because there's a sense of urgency on your part to find out sooner than later whether they're capable of doing this. And I think you kind of made an interesting point. I think most people don't really know whether they're capable of this.
Yeah, I don't blame them.
And most men probably want to think they are capable of loving someone so much, but it's going to take them to love you. You know what I'm saying? Your person is probably not going to be someone who has a micro penis or who doesn't like sex, because you like sex, right? You like it differently than the average person. So your person, most likely, I'm guessing for you, you hope that likes sex as much as the average person, wants to have a sexual relationship with you, but you guys are just going to have to figure out how to do it differently. And it's going to happen because you guys care about each other outside of sex so much that you're willing to take the time and make it work, that you're willing to face some struggles and hurdles and some awkwardness. And maybe you guys go to a sex therapist together or a couples therapist, but that foundation is there. And I know there's a lot of nuances there, and I this is not to be taken in black and white, but I just, again, that sense of like that you're feeling and wanting to get over this hump, I think is maybe putting a little bit more pressure on yourself in the sex department than it needs to be. And I do think that your person is not going to be someone who, again, like I said, has their micro penis or doesn't like sex. It's that they are willing to work with you through this because they love you and care about you, and they love what they have with you overall. And they realize I can still have a really great sex life with her. It's just not the way we thought. And when it comes to like having kids and conception and things like that, you work around that and figure it out. And again, like you do the physical therapy, and over time, it sounds like you could probably have a really healthy sex life. There's a lot of married people who are capable of having sex, or a lot of people in relationships who are capable of having sex who have terrible sex lives because they don't communicate. They're not on the same page. They're not paying attention. They're not considerate and thoughtful or focus on the other person's needs. So it really just comes down to like, this could be you could have a great sex life with someone, because you found someone who you have this really strong foundation with. You put in the work, you slowed it down. And then when it got to the appropriate part to talk about sex and relationships, there was a desire on both parties to make it work because there was a lot of like and a lot of love and a lot of mutual respect there already. And I think if you can try to focus on getting to that place first, that might help you with the sex stuff.
Deprioritizing is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. So, and then also like definitely talk to an expert on this stuff who might have better answers than us. All right.
All right.
Was this in any way helpful?
It was, yeah.
Okay. It's very interesting. Yeah. And I really appreciate your vulnerability in sharing this with us, because I'm confident that there are people listening to this show who are experiencing what you're experiencing. And if nothing else, it's just always nice to know that you're not alone with your struggles, whatever those struggles might be.
Yeah.
So thank you for calling in and sharing, and keep us posted. I'd love to know how you navigate this, and if you're willing to share any victories or lessons learned that you're willing to share and call back. We'd love to hear any progress, or like, I struggle with this, but I really found this to word for me. It'd always nice to hear.
Yeah. I'll just say as a plug for anyone in your audience, if you're experiencing discomfort with sex, talk to your gynecologist, but also they might send you straight to PT, physical therapy. Ask them to run hormone analysis first, just because sometimes they don't do the due diligence. And PT won't work unless you fix that problem first.
Well, that's very, very good to know. Very helpful. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you for calling. Hopefully this was somewhat helpful, but keep us posted in the future.
I appreciate it. All three of you.
And take care. How's it going?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. What's your name?
My name is Grace, and I am 31 years old.
How can we help, Grace?
So my question is, I have recently started kind of seeing somebody, and I'm wondering if I've unintentionally put myself in the hookup zone, and if so, how I get out of it.
Okay.
And if I can.
What do you mean by hookup zone?
So a few months ago, was out of town, and I met some guy semi-organically in like this very meet cute way. We went out, we had a great time. The next time I was in town, though, I did not get in until about 9 p.m. I knew I wanted to see this guy, also knew that I was going to hook up with him if things went well. But because it was so late, I didn't want him to just come to my hotel, hook up and whatnot. So we went out for a few drinks. That was my way of ensuring that it wasn't just a quick hookup. It was great. I've kind of tried to text him in between meeting the first and second time. We did not text very often. So after meeting the second time, I attempted to make some more conversations, and he replied, but he didn't do anything to keep conversations going. So I am again going back into this town where he's from with a better timeline. I get in during the day, so we have time to actually go out on a date. But I'm worried that now that we've hooked up the one time, that's just what he's going to expect this second time as well.
Sure, yeah. And so far, you like this guy? You like what you know so far?
Yeah, I really like him.
You really like him? Okay. And how many dates have you gone on?
2.
You hooked up on the second date?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And how long ago was that?
That was about 2-3 weeks ago.
Okay. And then how much communication is going on between now and then?
Not much at all.
Okay.
We texted the next day, had a great time. Please let me know next time you're in town. A few days later, tried to make conversation about the place we went on the second date. And he responded, but again, it wasn't much to continue a conversation. as soon as I found out I was going to be going back in a few days, I texted him to let him know. He seemed very enthused. He was excited. I let him know that I'd find something fun for us to do. He didn't object. And that's kind of it.
Okay. Well, how old is he?
He's 34.
Okay. And what do you like about him so far?
I like that he's super kind. He's big into travel. He's kind of a nomad. We had that in common. He is big into kind of just picking up and moving and going to a new place and meeting all new people and kind of making a little life in this new town, which I really like. He's very close with his family, which is nice. And yeah, our humor is very similar. We're both very sarcastic and can banter really well in person, which is confusing to me because it doesn't seem to translate.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't comfortable with texting, and I think men are worse at it than women. But I do think we've talked about this before. I do think people have an unreasonable expectation of texting. For some people, texting is just quick responses and check in and quick updates of like, oh, I'll be there in 5, not to like carry on conversations and get to know someone.
And that's actually how I am. So after meeting the first time when we didn't text, I didn't really think much about it.
Yeah. And
then when I realized that I wouldn't be getting in until super late, so there wasn't much time for a date, I was like, oh shoot, like we don't have much time to continue getting to know each other.
Okay. So in a perfect world with him specifically, how would you want to progress this relationship? If you were the shot caller, if he was down for whatever it is you were down for, how would you want to like lay this out?
I mean, perfect world, I would come in and then 3 days, we'd be able to go on like a fun date that wasn't just dinner, do some kind of activity, get to know each other even more. And then again, like I said, I'm not a big texter, but I do have the ability to pick up as many, like be in town for work.
Yeah.
Potentially 3-4 times a month. And I would put a lot more effort into doing that so that we can get to know each other in person.
And would you want to have sex while you do this?
Yes, that's not I'm not a very sexual person. So that's not like the biggest thing for me.
Okay.
But yeah, that would.
You're okay with having sex, but it's not a big deal whether you do or do not have sex.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you want to abstain, but like you're not, for you, this is about getting to know someone, not about, having the regular sex per se.
Exactly.
You would be willing to like slow the sex down if you thought that it would help you guys get to know each other more?
Yeah, I'm also kind of I don't think that those things are always mutually exclusive.
Totally.
Like I feel like we can also get to know each other and still have sex and it's not gonna change anything.
Yeah, I think every situation is different. I'm only asking this question in the sense of like, some people might be like, oh fuck, the sex is so good. I don't want to give that up type of thing. Yeah. And some people might be like, your answer at some point might be to like, at least take the sex off the table just to see how they respond. And some people might like struggle with that because like, well, I mean, I like them. What I like about them is like, I love having sex with them, but I just want to be more than just someone they have sex with. But that's not what you're saying. So I'm just trying to get a read on where you're coming from. Well, listen, I think the best thing to do is communicate exactly what you want. It's still relatively early. I think it would be totally normal for you. It sounds like you have maybe plan the date that you want to have.
Okay.
Sounds like you want to do something very specific, something adventurous, something maybe outdoors, that allows you to like be active while get to know each other. Plan that and just say, hey, would you be, I'm going to be in town, or right? You're going to be in town. You're going to see. Yeah. I want to do this. I think we should do it. Take it from that approach. Okay. I want to do this. I think we should do this is more than, would you be willing to do this type of thing?
Okay.
Don't come from that approach. More, I'm going
to do this regardless.
Yeah, and
I'd like you to come.
I'd like you to come, and we should do this. It'd be fun. And then, assuming that date goes just as well, maybe you go out for drinks afterwards, and maybe say, "Hey, let's do this during the day, and we'll have dinner later or something." And then the next time you're like sitting down and talking, just say, "I really have gotten to know. Like, I really like what I know so far." I would include the so far. They'll hear the so far, because the so far will keep them. It'll stop them from panicking that you like them if they are. And so far, if you really emphasize this so far, well, what do you mean so far? they'll focus on that. And then that will, like, instead of worrying about whether you like them too much, they'll be more inclined to want to continue to show you why you should like them.
Okay.
But more specifically, after you say that, you just say, hey, like I really, this is what, and then say what you like about them. I really like how we're compatible in this area. I like our sense of humor. I'd love to keep getting to know you. And then maybe just talk about, like, I don't even know if this early you have to bring up your concerns about the physical aspect. I think more importantly, you just want to check in with him about where you're at and what you like, and just see how he responds. Because does he respond with, well, I really like you too, but I'm not really looking for a relationship right now.
Right.
And if he says that, then you have your answer. That is not a challenge to try to convince him to want to be in a relationship with you, even though he doesn't want a relationship. I think you would have a better response if you say, oh, thank you for your honesty. Sucks to hear. And just say that. Sucks to hear. See what he says about that, And then he might ask, well, why does it suck to, it's like, well, I mean, I don't know. Again, like I said, I'm 30. You say you're 32?
31.
31. I'm not anxious. I'm not impatient, but I'm looking forward to meeting my person that day. And right now I'm not necessarily like, I'm an empowered woman who chose to have sex because I wanted to have sex with you. But like, that doesn't mean I'm looking for a fuck buddy. And what and between now and then, I've liked what I've learned. So I want to see if there's potential. If there's not potential, I don't need a regular hookup. One and done, man.
Okay.
You kind of bring that energy. So you be very clear about like that you like what you know so far and that you're interested in getting to know him more. Like I've talked about in many other different versions, you're just very confidently stating and checking in and giving an update of where you're at. And you say that confidently.
Okay.
And your objective is to get to, what I want is to get to know you more. And maybe you guys have conversations around, what does that look like? How do you, like, I know, and you could say like, I know neither of us are big texters, but like, we also don't get to see each other that much. Like, how do you usually get to know people? Like, what's your comfort level? See what he says. And then say what you would like and see if he responds like, how would you like to get to know him? Hey, it would be like, I'd like to see you like a little bit more. Or maybe we could try like having a FaceTime date since we're not always in the same area. Like, I'm trying new things out, but I do know I just want to get to know you more.
He doesn't know how my work schedule kind of goes. I have kind of made it seem like I haven't let him know that, I'm purposely picking up these trips after I met him to see him. I wouldn't be in that town as often as I am without him. Do you think it would kind of freak him out if I was like, I could be here more, I don't want him to think I'm like chasing him around.
Well, why don't you, let's just start with what we just talked about there.
Okay.
And just say, I like you, and see what he says. Because you might get an answer where, if he's just like, well, I like you too, but I'm not looking for a girlfriend. Then I don't know if you need to like open up about that.
Yeah.
Because that's more like, hey, like, we have similar lifestyles and things like that. And maybe he says, well, yeah, but you live in a different city. You could say, well, clearly I'm able to travel. And don't make it less about him. Just be like, I'm able to like go to places where I want to be. And clearly I want to be here because I want to get to know you. So that was easy for me to do.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a different way of saying I came here because like, yeah. So you're just like, I worked hard to give myself a lifestyle that gave me flexibility and options because I too like to be adventurous, and it allows me to be in places where I want to be. And clearly I want to be here because I want to get to know you more. And like, so I'm not really worried about like long distance or things like that. So you just change how you answer it a little bit. Only bring that up if he brings it up as like a voice of concern as to why you might not be compatible.
All right. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah, I think just check in, and try not to put so much pressure on yourself.
Yeah. Even when you asked me what I liked about him, it's so much so far, there's only so many things I even know.
Those were good answers.
So like
those were good answers. It really speaks to like, I can see why with someone with your like lifestyle and like what you like, why you'd be drawn to someone like him. It seems like a compatibility fit, and compatibility fits are like sometimes really hard to find when they're specific. And then, you like the other stuff, you guys have hooked up. It seems to have gone well. You're still talking. I mean, the benefit about having sex early on and still both of you still engaging, you realize that clearly there's more interest there. Because a lot of times you have sex with someone, you're like, well, I'm good. Yeah, just check in and see where it goes from there, and think more about progress rather than like trying to like get all your answers at once.
Right. Okay. I just am happy to know that just because my texting ability isn't that big, it doesn't automatically pigeonhole me in that one spot.
I don't think so. I think ask, how do you like to get to know someone? How should we do this?
Yeah.
How should we get to know each other? What works for us? Just to have a conversation about what you're looking for, and be very casual and chill about it. And if you're casual and chill and still scare them away, then it's not a you problem. That's a them problem. And then you're not scaring away a potential partner. You're just getting answers on their emotional availability to give you what you want and deserve. People can scare people. Like you could be like, hey, I showed up in this city and I'm stalking you. You know, like if you said it like that, I'd be freaked out.
Yeah.
But like you putting in an effort to get to know someone shouldn't scare them.
So is there a specific reason that I might, try to hold off on having sex again? Or is it, that's not really something that I put that much importance on?
I think it all depends on how this next conversation goes. Right?
Okay.
Because if you go on this event, like you guys go hiking or whatever it is, you gotta go on this nice outdoors date. You have a good time. You go out to dinner. You're like, hey, it's been really fun. I really like you. Like, you don't have to say I really like you. I've really enjoyed getting to know you. And I really like, it's been fun. And I enjoy hanging out with you. And just say that. See what he says.
Okay.
Immediately he'll either say, I really like you too. I've enjoyed getting to know you. Or he will say, there will be a but in there. Listen for the but. If there's no but, then talk about how you guys can continue to get to know each other. If there is a but, pay very close attention to what follows the but, because that is the real truth. But I'm not looking for a girlfriend now. But I'm really busy with work. But like I'm moving or whatever. Like the but is the real answer. The I like you or you're cool. All the stuff that comes before the but are all things that like they're just being agreeable. If there's a but there, pay attention to that, and then I would seriously consider not having sex with him, unless you are fully prepared. And again, you like him, so like you don't want a fuck buddy. So that's where that's the boundary you're going to enforce. With this particular guy, I've already had sex with him. I don't need to wonder what it's like having sex with him. Now I want to know if like he's willing to like get to know me because I'm willing to get to know him. And I don't, and continuing to have sex with this guy without first having that conversation, and B, like if he gives me an answer I don't want, to still have sex with him will be me not enforcing this boundary with him. It'll be showing him through my actions that I am okay with just having sex with him whenever he wants or whenever it's convenient for us, without any expectation of him getting to know me for any specific goal, like the possibility of like dating. So that's when you decide to not do that.
Seems easy enough.
Yeah. And I don't think you need to say it. You don't be like, well, just so you know, I'm not going to have sex with you. You just don't.
Right. Oh yeah.
You just stop. And then when he's just like, oh, I thought we could like maybe, it's like, hey, listen, it's cool, man. I just, like I said, I'm just not looking for that. And it's fun. And then see if he comes around.
All right. Well, I appreciate all the advice.
All right. Appreciate you calling. All right. Keep us posted.
I will.
Yeah. Want to know what happens.
All right. Bye.
All right.
Have a nice day.
Take care. You too. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening, guys. Don't forget to send in your questions at asknick@castme.com. Cast with a K. Don't forget to get Don't Text Your Ex Happy Birthday if you haven't yet. I don't know what the heck you're waiting for. See you on Wednesday. At least Guilfoyle breaking down Bachelor in Paradise and 500th episode of the Viall Files. Going Deeper edition on Thursday. Don't miss it. See you then. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss any future videos like our Tuesday Bachelor recaps and Wednesday celebrity and expert interviews. See you next time.